Welcome back, Patriots, for a Monday episode of the Paul Pratt Show. It is officially December 9th. We're not just that much closer to Joey getting out of office, but also Christmas. And we got the best Christmas present ever. And that's Donald Trump being reelected as the 47th president of the United States. And let me tell you, with everything that's going on, not only do we need the guy, but the world needs the guy. Syria has collapsed, which we're going to cover because that's partially Democrats' fault. I'm not saying it's all their fault because that would be insane. We got Karine Jean-Pierre saying that Joe Biden never lied to the American people. Okay. We got Donald Trump interview with Kristen Welker, who used to be a White House correspondent and now is acting like a you-know-what. And Donald Trump is smacking her around. We got that clip for you. We also have Donald Trump talking about illegal immigration, how he's going to just take entire families out. Boy, oh boy, hell of a weekend. Hopefully you had a nice one. Buckle up, because we only have an hour together. We might as well jump right into the news today. We got Karine Jean-Pierre. Well, she's getting a little snappy. Snappy, snap, snap. At reporter for confronting her about Biden lying to the public. And, well, she didn't like that. So we got a couple clips here of Karine Jean-Pierre with her typical nonsense. And boy, oh boy, am I going to miss the content? But I ain't going to miss her.
Zeke asked this question, I just didn't hear an answer. The next time that the president says he will or won't do something, why should the American people believe him?
I answered that question. I don't have anything else to add.
What's
I
your
answered the question.
Can you
I
explain it
answered
in
the
a way
question.
that's understandable?
I can't speak to you understanding the question or not, or my answer or not on this. I don't have anything else to say. I'm not going to relitigate this. I did that on Monday for 30 minutes. I went back and forth. I laid out. I said, please read the president's really comprehensive statement on this. And I even said the last paragraph of that statement, he talks directly to the American people. And that's how I answered that question.
He talked directly to the American people. Don't worry, we got an interview of Joey talking directly. Not even an interview, a press briefing. I don't know what you call it because he just rambles through his words. We got that coming up a little bit later. But don't worry, she litigated it, you guys. She said that she never lied to the American people when she told everybody multiple times on camera through the course of like an entire year plus that Joe Biden was never going to sit there and pardon his son Hunter. Well, he did it. He did it. So here's more of that press briefing where Karine Jean-Pierre refuses to apologize for repeatedly insisting Biden wouldn't pardon Hunter. Here she is.
Just very specifically.
It's not only colleagues who watch this. There's also the American people.
Exactly.
So to be fair,
and they were
right?
told by you in July that this would not happen, and it did. Do you?
Okay.
I'm saying, asking for yourself, not the president's statement, but for yourself. Do you feel like you are owed an apology by the president? Do you owe an apology to the American people?
Zeke, I just laid out the president's thinking. The president laid it out himself in his own words. He did. He laid out how he wrestled with this decision. He said in his statement, as a president, as a father, he talked about how difficult it was to make this decision. He thought about it this weekend. He did. He thought about it this weekend. He wrestled with it. And there are some, factors, some real factors that he took into consideration. And
yeah, like, is my entire family going to prison? Where's the money? Do we have it in a safe spot, Hunter, where nobody's going to find it? How's our offshore accounts? Yeah, I'm sure he did wrestle with it. Oh, boy, is there a lot behind this. Yeah.
And that's why I keep saying folks should just take a look. Take a look. Read his statement.
We did.
And I know what I said. I know what the president said. That is where we were at the time. That is where the president was at the time. I am his spokesperson. This weekend, he thought about it. He wrestled with it.
There's just this thing when she keeps saying he wrestled with it like it's a big deal. And I just picture Joe Biden wrestling with anything. He's not going to come out on top no matter what he's wrestling, even with himself.
And made this decision. That's what I can tell the American people.
Why should they have any confidence in anything else?
I think the American people understand, and I think they understand how difficult this decision would be. And I would actually add And I think it's important to note
We're going to the binder. Everybody buckle up. She's going to the binder.
here, as you're asking me these questions, important questions to
Can't
ask,
find it.
that there was a poll, a U.S. Gov poll that came out, that some of you all reported on it.
Where's
and
it
it
at?
said 64% of the American people agree with the pardon.
60. No, they don't. Stop it. 64% of the American people agree with the pardon. Who got paid off on that one? Give me a break, Karine. Well, she also suggested that Biden is seriously considering preemptive pardons for other certain Democrats, which we covered last week as well.
Are preemptive pardons on the table if President gets through?
I'm just not going to. I'm not going to get ahead of the president. Certainly, the president is looking at, reviewing next steps, and there will be more to come. I'm just not going to get ahead of the president. I'm not going to get into hypotheticals from here.
Are preemptive pardons?
Wow. So we did cover that last week, where I said there is a good chance that Joe Biden sits there and pardons Adam Schiff, Liz Cheney, whoever else might be a part of the Democrat Party. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's people in his administration that he sits there and pardons. You also have Anthony Fauci for what took place in COVID, crimes against humanity. You also have his brother James Biden, that I think would say a lot about what took place with this Biden family corruption if he was sitting there being pardoned. There's a lot there, folks, and she lied about it. And here's the weird thing. Why don't you just apologize? That's the thing I think a lot of people, especially in the media or government, kind of forget, and I think sleep on, is the idea that the American people aren't forgiving, where we're extremely forgiving. And also, we also a very generous nation where we just give billions of dollars to other countries just left and right. We understand forgiveness. All you needed to do was apologize. I mean, there's a lot of other things you need to apologize to. Case in point, lying to the press and the American people about the classified documents. Y'all remember that saga where she sat there and lied every single day for an entire week to the press corps in the White House press room? Bonkers stuff. Bonkers stuff. But she's back at it. You know, part of me is going to miss her, guys. I know it sounds crazy, but I've become addicted to the drama. Well, we got some big news here going on in Syria, folks. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, we do this live every single weekday morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Hit that like button. It does support us, and it also gets conservative thought and ideas out there to new viewers who haven't seen our content or our channel. So hitting that bell icon and that like button helps us tremendously. Thank you, patrons. Well, Syria has fallen, you guys. And Biden, I guess, is cheering on the toppling of the Syrian government, where offers support for Syrian people as U.S. hits ISIS strongholds in a moment of risk and uncertainty. So I'm going to break this down for you all and kind of do an extremely big synopsis of what took place in just one moment. But I want to see what Biden here has to say. President Biden on Sunday praised the overthrow of Syrian tyrant Assad, while noting the terror links of the rebels now in control, and as the U.S. launched strikes against ISIS, tied strongholds there. Biden underscored the risks of Syria becoming a haven for ISIS after the collapse of the oppressive regime and vowed, "We will not let that happen." Now, I don't believe one damn thing that comes out of Joe Biden's mouth, so I'm going to take that with a grain of salt, and you'll also see why I'm going to take it with a grain of salt when we get to this guy's interview in one moment, because he couldn't get a damn thought out of his head. CENTCOM confirmed that it had conducted dozens of precision airstrikes on more than 75 targets in eastern Syria, hitting ISIS camps, leadership, and other assets after Assad's fall. Now, he has received, I don't know what you would call it, asylum in Russia. And if you recall, years and years ago, when a guy named Barack Obama was in office, you had the Assad regime using chemical weapons on his own people and killing thousands of them. And during that time, going into another war or engaging in another war wasn't exactly the most popular thing amongst the American people. So Barack Obama was looking at his cards and he goes, I'm screwed. I don't know what to do. I don't have a brain. So I'm going to screw over the world and, well, the American people. And I'm not only going to give Iran $1 billion of your cold, hard cash, America, but I'm going to sit there and give Russia complete control over Syria. So that's what he did. You would think, okay, there's two options. I can bomb the Assad family and their military installations and all these things and not get super involved, right? Just do airstrikes. Or I could sit there and go, hey, well, Assad is friendly with the Russians. I could just give the Russians complete control over dismantling and having Assad give up his chemical weapons and just give them complete control. And then I don't have to deal with anything. Well, do you think that's a good idea, giving the Russians control of anything? As if, like, why on God's green earth do you just all of a sudden trust the Russians? Look, I get there needs to be negotiations. There has to be some sort of trust. But that whole aspect, look where it's got us. And by the way, even when the Russians did take control of Assad's chemical weapons, the way the negotiations worked out was like there are certain chemicals that weren't even involved in the agreement, like chloride, I think, or something like that, and other chemicals that he was allegedly still using on his people. So Assad's not a good guy. I'm not exactly upset that the guy got his ass thrown out, but the people that replaced him also had ties with Al-Qaeda back in the day. And the people that took over Syria left that tie with the Al-Qaeda years ago, but now are linked up with other extremist groups. So the current people that took over, these rebels is what they're calling them, also HTS or something, I can't pronounce the word, are basically an extremist group. And they're saying, hey, you know what? You don't have to be worried. We just want to sit there and enact a new government. We want to turn our country around and make it work on the world stage. We'll see if that's true. Am I going to believe a terrorist organization? I don't think so. I don't think so. So that's basically what happened. And the Assad family has sit there and ran roughshod over their entire civilian population left and right. Not a good guy. And it just shows a lot his ties with the Iranians and the Russians. And that brings us to current day, where now he got thrown out, took a plane. A lot of people thought the plane went down, and now you got this going on. So Joe Biden, as stated in that New York Post article, used precision airstrikes on ISIS targets in Syria after the Assad regime collapse. Now, that's a big deal, and Biden was correct here, is that when you have a government that's destabilized, such as what just took place in Syria, that you have these extremist groups that kind of all want a piece of the pie. They all want to sit there and take advantage of the chaos that's going on, not just in the world, but specific regions around the world. One of those groups is ISIS. Now, if you recall, ISIS was the JV squad, according to Barack Obama when he was president. And they were sitting there throwing people in cages and drowning them, skinning people alive, putting people's babies in fires and having the wife eat it afterwards. That's all real stories, by the way. And it just shows you how pussyfoot around the Democrats act. Case in point, Barack Obama and Joe Biden. And, well, now we're dealing with this whole shebang. And guess who's going to have to deal with it, you guys? Guess who has to deal with all this crap now that Democrats help cause in some way, shape, or form? That's correct, Donald Trump. Just another thing to add on Donald's plate. Now, can he fix it? Probably. But hell, we got a lot of fixing to do here, not somebody else's country, which Donald Trump's fully aware of, which we'll get to in just one moment. There's a lot of news today. So he's bombing ISIS, which is a good move because you don't want to sit there and allow them to even remotely get near that government and start implementing things. We'll have to see how this turns out. Go two ways: stay in chaos, or they're claiming this new extremist group that's taken over the government, that's recognized as a terrorist organization according to the United States. Well, they're saying they're going to hold presidential elections in the next 13 months, and they want to do it right and be all these things. Now, these people are known to be liars. So like I said, I don't believe a damn thing that comes out of their mouth. And it's a whole cluster bleep over there on that side of the globe. So that's what's going on in Syria. You also have the House Intel chairman, Mike Turner, explains how Biden failed again with Syrian collapse. So the chairman here said over the weekend that President Biden just failed again with the recent collapse of Syria because there was an opportunity to coordinate with the Turkish government and resolve a situation with the Kurds. Now, this is partially true here. that even Assad himself reached out. And matter of fact, they've reached out multiple times because they're seeing movement in this region. Mind you, they've been in civil war for years. So there's been a lot of communications with what's going on. But when you have a president that's just sleeping all the time, and that's not a joke, or on vacation on the beaches of Delaware or wherever, he's not getting any intel, any information. And some people, these Democrats, just go, well, Donald Trump golfed all the time. You know how much business gets done golfing? Go play it. Go play 9 rounds of golf, 18 if you want. Hell, 18, you're getting a lot done. You get a lot of business done in golfing. That's why a lot of business guys go out and golf. They'll grab a cigar, a couple drinks with some clients. They'll hash out some negotiations, get a little rough draft going on verbally, and then they sit there and hammer it out later on in the office. You get a lot of crap done golfing. Don't give me this crap. Joe Biden sitting on the beaches ain't getting nothing done. Oh, he's sitting there in his freaking briefs, sleeping. Yeah. Oh, a lot of conversations happening there. So Turner made the remarks during a stunning interview with Margaret Brennan on CBS's Face the Nation when asked about the stunning collapse of the Syrian president Bashar al-Assad, who has fled to Russia. You know, one of the things that we do see here, though, is this is a diplomatic failure with respect to the United States and Turkey. You know, the United States has troops in Syria. This is on the border of Turkey. Turkey is a NATO ally. The United States is working with the Kurds. Well, it's not just the United States having boots technically in Syria. You also have Israel right there on the doorstep as well. Now, Israel is surrounded by a bunch of people that want to wipe them off the face of the earth. And it's not exactly super comforting for them to know that a terrorist organization has taken over that government. I mean, this is whole destabilization of that entire region. It's insane how long this has been going on. And they just can't sit there and pull their heads out of their asses and get their crap together. Now they say the same thing about us, but look at where we're at compared to them. A big difference. This really could be an opportunity for the United States to work to try to resolve the issue between the Kurds, Turkey, and the United States, and working with the Turkish interest in Syria. Hopefully this could have an opportunity where there could be a diplomatic support there that hopefully could have, help in the transition in Syria. He added that President-elect Donald Trump does absolutely support the Kurds, and he's going to look for a diplomatic solution. Oh yeah, and he's already talked about it. He's already talked about it big time. And let's pull up his words. See if we can get it right here. Here's Donald Trump. So Assad is gone. Trump responds to Syria downfall. He didn't have much to say, but it goes in line with his thinking. And you could probably guess what Donald Trump wants to do. It's not exactly just going and throwing bombs in the country. It's more or less, hey, you know what? They need to figure out their own crap. It's enough of us sitting there and spending taxpayer dollars on somebody else's problem and us trying to clean it up all the time. We got $35 trillion in debt. Now, you know what? If somebody wants to destabilize their own country, now that's just going to be the way it is. And they need to sit there and figure it out themselves. Many countries over the course of history had to rise up against their own government and sit there and take back their country. We did it multiple times. Other countries have had to do it multiple times. President-elect Donald Trump, is it easy for me to say that? Of course it is, because I'm in a closet with a camera and a microphone and a bunch of patriots. Of course, I'm in an air-conditioned house. It's nice. It's easy to say that. But, there's a lot of, that's why I love this country so much and I respect the flag so much, because of those that died for this country so that we're able to live in the nation that we are right now, because they gave up the ultimate sacrifice, their life. But, some people just don't want to do that in other countries. And that's why they sit there and nothing changes. President-elect Donald Trump responded to the downfall of Syrian president, the regime. We talked about that. Assad reportedly fled Syria over the weekend as a terrorist organization, blah, blah, blah. Damascus, we got that. Assad is gone. He has fled his country, his protector, Russia, led by Vladimir Putin. Vlad was not interested in protecting him any longer. There was no reason for Russia to be there in the first place. They lost all interest in Syria because of Ukraine, where close to 600,000 Russians, believe it, soldiers lay wounded or dead in a war that should have never started and coulda go on forever. Now, he's correct here. When you have all your eggs in one basket, it makes it a little bit difficult to sit there and manage the other eggs that are supposed to be in the other baskets. And what is that? What am I trying to say there? They sat there, put all their focus on Ukraine. And when their focus was supposed to be partially sitting there keeping Assad in line and making sure that kind of country's stable, because of Barack Obama gave them the freaking power to do so, basically. Well, this is what you get. Russia and Iran are in a weakened state right now. That's not totally true. Russia's not doing terrible, and either is Iran, but they are somewhat weakened. One, because of Ukraine and a bad economy, and other because of Israel and its fighting success. The reason why I say Iran's not doing super terrible is because we're giving them billions upon billions of dollars, folks. I always use the 10 billion as an example of that frozen funds that the Biden administration always want to sit there and say that they can't get their hands on for humanitarian aid. No. There's other routes that we're giving them money, like Iraq buying energy from Iran. That's one method that they're sitting there allowing this government still to function properly. So no, it's not fully true here that they're in a completely weakened state. Maybe in some avenues they are, but not in the one I'm thinking of. Likewise, Zelensky in Ukraine would like me to make a deal and stop the madness. They have ridiculously lost 400,000 soldiers, man. So you're talking 1 million people between both these countries. It's just insane over land, dude. I mean, we're in 2024 and we are still sitting there fighting over land. And many more civilians. There should be an immediate ceasefire and negotiations should begin. As if Russia doesn't have enough land, right? It's like, if there was anybody to make an argument about land, it would be Israel. That's pretty much it. Like, Russia, really, you need more land? I get that they're right on the, you got NATO right on the border there, and you're worried and all these things. You don't need more land, bud. There should be an immediate ceasefire. Negotiation should begin. Too many lives are being so needlessly wasted. Too many families destroyed. And if it keeps going, it could turn into something much bigger and far worse. I know Vladimir well. This is his time to act. China can help. The world is waiting. Now, he also said that this is their problem. Here we go. It's right here. I got it for you. Syria is a mess, but it's not our friend, and the United States should not have nothing to do with it, in all caps. This is not our fight. Let it play out and do not get involved. That I actually like. You got to sit there and kind of watch how things unravel and see what is going on before you initially go in and maybe strike or do whatever. But it's not a bad option to obviously sit here and wait. If you have people coming in, terrorists or not, which I don't like, but if the people of Syria are going to allow a terrorist organization to sit there and take control of their country, God, it sounds a hell of a lot like the Palestinians. How could this unravel? How could this work out? I think we know. Is it possible that it turns into an election and all that stuff where, they actually elect a president? Maybe. But it turns out that Tulsi Gabbard had a meeting with Assad and people weren't happy about it. So President-elect Donald Trump said during an interview over the weekend that it was ridiculous that people were criticizing former Representative Tulsi Gabbard over her meetings years ago with the Syrian President Assad. Trump's remarks during the interview with NBC News Meet the Press with Kristen Welker, which we're about to get into after this segment, were aired on Sunday, just days after the Assad was forced to flee. I met with Putin, I met with President Xi of China, and I met with Kim Jong-un twice. Does that mean that I can't be president? People meet. All these people meet, he continued. I mean, I see some of the most dishonest people. I tell you, the 51 agents that said that the laptop wasn't from Hunter. Perfect. It was from Russia. What about them? Tell me about them. Do you think that they were wrong? Do you think that they were all so stupid that they all thought the laptop from hell? So I don't know why people are getting upset with her meeting them. If you're seeing that Russia isn't willing to sit there and take control and basically keep Assad in line, then we need to go diplomatic routes and meet with people that are honestly not good people. Remember, Assad sat there and used chemical weapons against his own civilians, his own people, and wiped out thousands of them, allegedly numerous times, by the way. I mean, hell, we took over, we removed what the hell was that guy's name? Oh, Jesus, now I can't even remember. I almost said Osama bin Laden, but it's not Osama bin Laden. Saddam Hussein. I mean, that guy sat there and killed thousands of people with chemical weapons. Granted, we also said, there's all this stuff there and blah, blah, blah. But that whole region's effed, man. I don't see it turning around anytime soon. And I'll be honest, my take on this, I don't believe those freaking terrorist extremists one bit. And what I saw what happened with the Palestinians by allowing Hamas, a terrorist organization, to take control over their country, look where that got them. When they received so much aid, like hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars to sit there and fix their infrastructure. Could you imagine if you gave, how big is Palestine? The Gaza Strip is not big. I mean, that would be giving basically your neighborhood hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. Could you imagine what your neighborhood would look like with hundreds of billions of dollars? Extremely nice. Extremely nice. Free shit everywhere. It's not what it looks like. Well, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, again, we do this every single morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I am my own sponsor. If you haven't already, check out our book, Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. You can get yourself a copy on Amazon. We also are available in, I don't know if it's still in Barnes & Nobles, Trojan Horse, How the Left. I want to make sure we plug this because we're our own sponsor. So we have this here, Trojan Horse. You get hardcover, paperback, the Kindle. Only 5 left in stock. People are buying these up. It's not a bad deal right now. 13, 14, 25% off. There's only 16 left. Make sure you grab yourself a copy. But if you notice, a lot of people buy Glenn Beck's book along with mine. So if you like Glenn Beck, if you like The Blaze, Tucker Carlson, all that stuff, you're going to really enjoy this book. It's a great gift. 5-star reviews. Okay. Really would appreciate you guys supporting by grabbing my book, Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. It's a great read. It's going to take you through how the left used their ideology, just as the Trojan horse was the Trojans allowed the Greek horse into their own city, their own area, and basically destroyed it from the inside out. They're doing the same thing with our country. Their ideology is destroying us from the inside out. Grab that book. Greatly appreciate it. Hit that like button if you're enjoying what you're seeing. Thank you. Brad's book is awesome. Thank you, Karen. That's very nice of you to say. I'm glad you liked it. Thank you for calling it the right name, Gaza. Yeah, I appreciate your understanding too. Sometimes I call Joe Trump Joe, but it is a morning show. We wake up at 4:30 in the morning to do it, and it's just me. And I got a lot of things to control here. I got the switchboard, I got the mic, the camera, the multiple screens, the chat. Where am I going next? The articles, is everything aligned? Is everything making sense? It gets a little bit crazy on my end. So thank you for understanding that sometimes I pull a Joey and I slip up. Sweet Sunset says it's an amazing book. I loved it. Thank you. Greatly appreciate that. Thank you guys. You're so kind. All right. Now, you've heard of this lady before. Her name is Kristen Welker. And well, she used to be a White House correspondent, so we know her extremely well here on the Bald Brad Show. And let's just say the way that she treated Trump was very, very disrespectful. So Trump blast, nasty, hostile. Kristen Welker, you hurt yourself so badly, so badly. And we're going to play portions of this interview because she came out acting like Caitlin Collins of CNN, just a complete B. And as somebody that's watched Kristen Welker for years during the White House press, I mean, I would say I'd see her 2-3 times a week. Never acted like this, which tells me that somebody is pulling the strings here, probably her boss, telling her to act this way. Complete disrespect from Kristen here. So there's a few clips. We're going to show you that one in a little bit, but I want to show you some other ones to kind of kick off the interview here with Meet the Press. Here's this one.
I understand that on day one, you're going to be signing a flurry of executive orders. Can you give me just what are the top ones people should know about?
A lot of it will have to do with economics. A lot's going to have to do with energy. A lot's going to do with having to do with the border. We're going to immediately strengthen up the border and do a real job. And some of the basics.
I understand that on day...
Oh, he's going to be doing a lot day one. You're going to see a lot of people fired as well on day one. I mean, he said by noon on day one, which is going to be January 20th, I want names of all those involved in Afghanistan because they're going to be fired. You're going to see a lot of stuff on day one. And I've always said, I keep my reservations. I don't know how I want to word this. I believe Donald Trump, but I don't have a lot of faith in government. And so I'm really hoping that he keeps his promises at the end of the day is what I'm hoping. I'm really hoping, or else, man, boy, oh boy, am I going to be let down. Because there's a lot of stuff he could do here. And if there's ever a time to sit there and turn this country around, it's right now. Now, Trump says I have to stop wars with tariffs. Yeah, there's some truth to that.
Other things, tariffs. I have stopped wars with tariffs by saying, you guys want to fight, it's great, but both of you are going to pay tariffs to the United States at 100%. And they have many purposes, tariffs, if properly used. I don't say you use them like a madman. I say properly used. But it didn't cost this country anything. It made this country money, and we never really got the chance to go all out because we had to fight COVID in the last part, and we did it very successfully. And when I handed it over to Biden, the stock market was higher than what it was just previous to COVID coming in. It was actually higher. Tariffs are properly used, are a very powerful tool, not only economically, but also for getting other things outside of economics, having to do with other things.
You see her face there at the end? Oh, that tells you how this interview was going and how she was handling it. Like, can you just tell me how many conversations have you been, like just natural conversations where you're just shooting the shit with somebody, that you had a facial reaction like that? Probably not too often. There's probably not that much serious stuff going on where you're like, oh my God. So we'll see. What I find fascinating is Democrats and the progressive left sit there and treat Donald Trump like he's an idiot, like he doesn't know what tariffs are and how he doesn't know how to sit there and negotiate. The guy sat there and had one of the most famous negotiation books in the entire world, if not the top one, The Art of the Deal. I mean, the guy has sat there and worked with negotiations his entire life. He became a billionaire. It's so interesting to me. Like, I'm not sure he knows what a tariff is or how to use it or how to use it properly. The guy sits there and has done more in his life than you would need to sit there and do in multiple of your lifetimes. He's negotiated more than you'll ever see in multiple lifetimes. So don't tell me that he doesn't know what he's doing and all this other stuff. And he's correct. If it's used properly and handled correctly, then yeah, you could sit there and make money off of it. And also it could be used as a negotiation tool and a tactic to sit there and get what you want. The reason why, if somebody's manipulating their currency, like China, or they're manipulating their economy in some way, shape, or form, well, then they're not sitting there playing the trade game very fairly. And so you got to sit there and impose stuff to have an equal trade-off. And one of those equal trade-offs is that if you increase tariffs coming in, well, then it's going to offset something. And so the consumer here in the United States is going to end up paying more. But what they're going to do is they're going to sit there and go at some point, hey, you know what? This product's a little bit too expensive for me. I'm just not going to buy it at all. That's how things work here. If you knew previously you're getting a TV for $100 and now it's $1,000, are you going to go buy that $1,000 TV that you just knew a year ago was $100? No. And what's going to be the explanation? Yeah, I imposed a 100% tariff on this country because they're sitting there manipulating shit. And well, now they can't sit there and sell their stuff anymore. Well, what do you think is going to happen to that business in that other country? Yeah, it's not going to do too well. And you know what? Now you sit there and equalize things where now the TV is, yeah, it's more expensive here in the United States, but you also bought made in America, buy America. So there's different routes you can go with it, and other countries don't like it. And if you want to see this already playing out in action, when Donald Trump said he was going to hit Mexico and Canada with a 25% tariff, did you see how quickly the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, came to Mar-a-Lago? Within 48 hours. 48 hours, the guy came into Mar-a-Lago, was crapping his pants. Sir, and Trump's like, kiss the ring. Come on, Justin, kiss the ring. And look what the Mexico president, she sat there and she had a phone call with Trump and wanted to get things done and negotiated and figured out, even though she came out going, well, that's fine. We'll increase 25% tariffs on you guys. That's fine. We don't need Mexico. It's astonishing how some of these countries just think that we like extremely need them. No, we don't. We get a lot of stuff from Mexico, but look, we can get stuff from Vietnam. We get stuff from other places. Ain't a big deal. Taiwan. Well, the interview went on and Trump threatened tariffs until Mexico and Canada stemmed the flow of illegal immigration and deadly drugs from the countries in the United States. Trudeau flew to Mar-a-Lago within 15 seconds of the call ending.
Are you actually going to impose these tariffs, or are they a negotiating tactic?
Well, I'll give you an example. With Canada, and in particular Mexico, we have millions of people pouring into our country. You agree with that. I spoke with I spoke with Justin Trudeau. In fact, he flew to Mar-a-Lago within about 15 seconds after the call ended. Yeah. He was at Mar-a-Lago. We were having dinner talking about it. I said, you have to close up your borders because they're coming in the northern border, too, a lot. Not like the southern border, but they're coming in the Canadian border a lot. And drugs are pouring in. Almost as importantly, drugs are pouring in, maybe more importantly, drugs are pouring in at levels never seen before, 10 times what we had. They're just pouring in. We can't have open borders. And I said to the president of Mexico and to Justin Trudeau, if it doesn't stop, I'm going to put tariffs on country at about 25%.
She pretends to be listening. Yeah. She's so animated too during the whole thing. You'll see it. She's extremely animated. She also says to President Trump says we have to get the criminals out of the country. I mean, there's thousands of them. Got to get them out.
To get the criminals out of our country. We have to get people that were taken out of mental institutions and put them back into their mental institution, no matter what country it is. Do you know that Venezuela, their prisons are at the lowest point in terms of emptiness that they've ever been? They're taking their people out of those prisons by the thousands, and they're drunk. And just to get back, because I know exactly what you're getting at. Number one, we're doing criminals, and we're going to do them really rapidly. We're getting the worst gang probably with MS-13, and the Venezuelan gangs are the worst in the world. They're vicious, violent people. And you see what they've done in Colorado and other places. They're taking over, literally taking over apartment complexes and doing it with impunity. They don't care. They couldn't. They just are. They're in the real estate business.
You know, the local police say that is not the case in Colorado.
Oh, it's totally the case. I mean, you
don't believe the local police.
I play it. I used to play it at my rallies every single night. No, they're breaking into doors. They're taking over the building.
But sir, you
and by the way,
the point.
police are afraid to do anything.
So the hostility gets going for sure. And Trump says we can make sure Americans with pre-existing conditions have coverage and bring health care costs down. I do think that's possible, but you got to revamp a lot of things. And I think one of those things you need to do is kind of remove some of these regulations and red tape that are on some of these companies, but we'll see.
Will people with pre-existing conditions still have coverage, and can you guarantee their prices will not go up?
The answer is yes. They'll have coverage. You have to have it.
And what about their prices?
Because you know what?
What about their prices, sir?
I want the prices to go down. I want to have better health care for less money. And there are ways of doing it, I believe.
Will people with...
If you think about it, and look, I know a lot of you might disagree with what I'm about to say here. The idea of insurance, right, is that you get something so that when you have that rainy day or that event occurs, that it's ultimately going to be covered by the insurance, meaning that thing that happened hadn't have happened yet. But when you're talking about health insurance, it's an interesting idea about, and just hear me out. I'm not saying it shouldn't be included. Just hear me out. I just want to, it's a fascinating thing where we've kind of switched into something that's really interesting, is that insurance is always supposed to take care of the thing that happens in the future. But when you have a pre-existing medical condition and you sit there and opt in for an insurance to take care of something that already had happened, that's not insurance, that is healthcare. And so I understand we've changed the word from insurance to healthcare, but it's still your health insurance. So it's such a fascinating thing to me is that you're putting a liability on an insurance company, whereas before, when you got insurance, the liability had not occurred yet. So it's a fascinating thing how we've switched from health insurance to health care. And if we don't want to have that insurance, but treat it as health care, then we need to look differently in terms of how the whole thing is structured in the first place. That's where I'm getting at. I think people have pre-existing conditions should be taken care of. I just want to be clear here. I just find it a very fascinating whole kind of idea in the insurance industry that people are pissed that the insurance companies don't exactly want to take on pre-existing conditions, because a lot of the aspect is, well, if you sit there and go to your doctor and take care of yourself, well, those pre-existing conditions might have never been there in the first place. And then we're actually just dealing with insurance at the end of the day. That's why a lot of insurance companies will actually pay you to go to the doctor, get checkups, or if you're running. I know my wife does this where she sits there and she gets a certain amount of dollars every single month for running or eating appropriately, getting enough sleep, and it's all tracked. When she goes into the doctor, she gets money back, things like that. So it's a very interesting thing, but wanted to share that with all of you. So Trump says retribution will be through success. Oh, I love that statement. Ooh, baby.
I'm really looking to make our country successful. I'm not looking to go back into the past. I'm looking to make our country successful. Retribution will be through success. If we can make this country successful, that would be my greatest. That would be such a great achievement. Bring it back. We have a country now that's overridden with crime, that has millions of people that shouldn't be here, that should be in prisons in other countries, that should be in mental institutions. We have drug lords being dropped into our country and told never go back to their country. I'm looking to make our country great. I'm looking to bring prices down because, you know, I won on two things, the border and more than immigration. You know, they like to say immigration. I break it down more to the border, but I won on the border and I won on groceries. It's a very simple word, groceries. I'm really looking.
Oh, you guys relish these next 4 years. I hope that they end up being a golden renaissance for us. I call it the Trump Great Reset. I really do. I hope that it's great. And if it is, I can't emphasize this enough. I am so blessed to not just be covering politics and have this kind of following on the internet, but that I get to share it with all of you. I really do. You're never going to experience this again, I think, in our lifetimes. There's not going to be another president that talks like this, acts like this, does these things. We are living in the greatest time of politics, and I am still going to be taking it all in. I am not going to be taking it for granted, and I hope neither do any of you. Now, Trump says, I hate to go on shows like Joe Biden. I'm not going to give my son a pardon. I always knew he was going to give him a pardon. So here's Donald Trump reacting to that.
I hate to go on shows like Joe Biden. I'm not going to give my son a pardon. I will not, under any circumstances, give him a pardon. I watched this, and I always knew he was going to give him a pardon. And so I don't like putting myself in a position like, I hate to go on shows like Joe Biden. I'm not going to give my son.
Well, that didn't work out. My light fell. The show lights fell. Now, let's get into a little bit of the spicy stuff here, because there was a lot in that interview. And I want to make sure I have it queued up appropriately for y'all where I don't blast out your eardrums. So here's where Donald Trump kind of just has had enough of her. And she is being hostile. It's a long clip, but Donald Trump even looks off to his team like, what's going on with this chick?
Let me ask you about some of this new reporting. NBC News is reporting that President Biden is considering giving preemptive pardons to the likes of Liz Cheney, Adam Schiff, and Anthony Fauci. If President Biden doesn't issue those pardons, do you think they are going to wish that he had? Are they going to be pursued?
I can tell you this about Cheney, and she's a so-called Republican. I think she hurt the Democrats terribly. When I saw that Kamala put Cheney out on the campaign trail, I said, that's the end of Kamala. I really did. I thought it was a terrible move, especially if you're a Democrat. But Cheney did something that's inexcusable, along with Thompson and the people on the Unselect Committee of political thugs and, you know, creeps. So the Unselect Committee went through a year and a half of testimony. Wait. They deleted and destroyed all evidence of that they found. You know why? Because Nancy Pelosi was guilty. Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 troops. You wouldn't have had a J6 because other people were guilty. The people that said that I attacked 2 Secret Service agents in a car. I grabbed one around the neck. I was then rebuffed, and I grabbed the other one. These are 2 of the toughest men anywhere on the planet. They happen to be slightly younger than me, maybe, you know, just a little bit. Let me just tell you. They testified. They said it was total. And all of this stuff came out. People lied so badly. Now, listen, this was a committee, a big deal. They lied. And what did they do? They deleted and destroyed a whole year and a half worth of testimony. Do you know that I think those people committed a major crime. Sir. And Cheney was behind it. Well, and so was Benny Thompson and everybody on that committee. For what they did, yeah. Honestly, they should go to jail.
So you think Liz Cheney should go to jail?
Like, calm down. Your job's not that important. Shit.
For what they did.
Everyone on the committee, you think?
I think everybody anybody that voted in favor.
Are you going to direct your FBI director and your attorney general to send them to jail?
No, not at all. I think that they'll have to look at that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to focus on drill, baby, drill.
When you say that, it carries weight, though. You know, you've tapped these people to lead the Justice Department and FBI.
They can do whatever they want.
Okay.
Biden can give him a pardon if he wants to, and maybe he should. Just remember. Unselect Committee, a year and a half of sworn testimony, And after getting all of the testimony, they deleted it, and they destroyed almost everything. There's nothing left. It's unprecedented.
And they deny
If you
doing
do that in a civil case, you go to jail.
You know they deny doing that. And officials say that the order never came in for the National Guard.
A statement.
On January 6th, let me ask you this about January 6th. I think
Benny
you're going to want to
Thompson
answer
wrote
this.
in a statement that he has destroyed all evidence.
Let me ask you this about January
Amazing.
6th.
I wish you could be you have such potential. If you could be just non-biased, you hurt yourself so badly. I'm telling you, they deleted and destroyed all the evidence. Everyone knows it. And you slough it off like it doesn't mean anything.
No, I'm
If
just
I
saying
did
they
it,
deny it. That's all I'm saying.
Kristen,
No, Kristen, you are sitting there scoffing off like you don't care. Do we need to go back? Where she goes, yeah, that's what she did. She goes, he brings it up. Franco, if you're listening to this, include that clip. Just about 30 seconds ago, he brings up the whole idea, and she goes, yep. Like doesn't give a shit.
I did it. You would be standing up in that chair shouting at me. And you know what I'd do? I'd say, you got me. They have done something so illegal. They have a committee sworn to, and because it was so bad, the only reason they did it is because the testimony turned out to be in favor of me. Like Secret Service testified and disputed everything. It made them into a bunch of liars. Not Secret Service, it made the people. They got rid of it because it made Nancy Pelosi, the mayor of D.C., so many people look like criminals. And I will tell you, it's illegal for them to delete and to destroy that evidence.
Trump is correct here. Like on everything he said. And she's sitting there playing off like it's not a big deal. I'll tell you what, I liked Kristen slightly before this. She's on my shit list along with Caitlin Collins. Not somebody to be trusted, not somebody that actually takes their job seriously, but pretends like they do. And you know what's sad? Again, I think there was somebody at the station, NBC to be specific, that's telling her to act like that. Because I never saw her act like that in 3 years of doing this show and watching White House press briefings almost every single week, in some cases almost every single day, when they were going every day. Usually they're now like once every 2 weeks because Karine Jean-Pierre can't answer a question. So wild stuff, and good for Trump. And I think Michelle here, just Michelle said it correctly. He is trying to help her career, her choice not to listen. Correct. He sat there and said she has such potential. She does. You want to know who I think does it the best? That is a White House press correspondent, but also can push a little bit, is Ed O'Keefe. Ed O'Keefe does a phenomenal job of sitting there pushing back. He's pushed back really hard on Karine Jean-Pierre, but he's also pushed back on Trump and Joe Biden. And, I think he genuinely does try to act unbiased and pushes when he thinks that something is not correct. So I like Ed O'Keefe a lot. As of right now, he's not on my bleep list, but we'll see. We might need a new list here coming in 2025. Wow, man, it's going to be crazy. Imagine the White House press briefings on that bad boy. Well, speaking of people that can't be trusted, here's Joe Biden. I told you to play the clip of him rambling and not getting a coherent thought out of his damn head regarding Syria.
You know, for years, the main backers of Assad have been Iran, Hezbollah, and Russia. But over the last week, their support collapsed, all three of them, because all three of them are far weaker today than they were when I took office. You know.
And people can't fathom why entire governments are being toppled. Terrorists are running roughshod over entire countries.
We will help ensure stability in eastern Syria, protecting any personnel, our personnel, against any threats. And remain our mission against ISIS will be maintained, including the security of detention facilities where ISIS fighters are being held as prisoners. We will help stability. What
the hell was that? What the hell was that? Folks, usually if you're going to give a speech off a teleprompter, you've read the speech before. This is what it looks like when you have never read the speech and you just show up in the room and read off a teleprompter. You want to know how I know this? Because I've done it. And that's exactly how it sounds. I had to be a guest host on this YouTube thing a long time ago. And somebody else had written the entire episode, and I was just a guest. And so I had to come on for a segment, and I had to read from a teleprompter. And that's exactly how it sounded. And I didn't fumble through my words like that, but I sat there and was like reading like word for word, like Biden is completely incoherent as he tries, because you don't know where you're going. You don't know what you're saying. You're just reading somebody else's words. And sometimes other people suck at writing. God, man, he's so bad. I can't wait till he's gone. Meaning out of office. Now, Trump says Trump on deportations here will send the whole family very humanely back, won't be separated. I love this because this is such a callback to Tom Homan when it's like, sir, are you going to separate families? Can you do that? Sure. We can send them together. So here's Trump on that interview.
I want to ask you about the zero tolerance policy. I mean, he didn't have a systemic, we're going to separate families. Families were separated when parents were a threat to the kids.
We don't have to separate a family.
This.
Excuse me, Kristen.
Yeah.
We don't have to separate families. Yeah. We'll send the whole family very humanely back to the country where they came. That way the family's not separated.
So no more family separations. You're not reviving the zero tolerance policy. It depends on the family. The family may decide to say, I'd rather have dad go, and we'll stay here. And in which case they have that option. But you're not going to revive your zero tolerance policy, which was put in place as a deterrent. Is there any universe where you would bring that back, sir?
We need deterrence. Look, ready? When somebody comes here illegally, they're going out. It's very simple. When they come here illegally, they're going out. Now, if they come here illegally, but their family is here legally, then the family has a choice. The person that came in illegally can go out, or they can all go out together.
I want to ask you about.
Correct. And it was brought up that, hey, that whole aspect that she's referring to is from the Obama administration that implemented all of that. That's something that was put in place by them. And she doesn't want to sit there and ever bring that up. And I wanted to find the clip where he actually was speaking on that, because she was pushing back and he was explaining to her that that's something the Obama administration put in and she didn't want to hear it. So I can't find it for you now. Hopefully we'll try to find it later. But, it's just astonishing how she doesn't want to bring up the fact that that was pushed in by Barack Obama. And I hate to tell you, some of these kids are not coming across with their parents. That's the crazy thing of it all. Is you have a toddler that's being sent off with a random stranger, and these parents are allowing it to happen. That's the crazy thing. And again, because we don't believe in personal responsibility anymore, that we're the ones to blame here in the United States for sending the kid back to his actual parents. That's the craziest thing to me. It's like, well, you're separating families. Well, yeah, because that guy's a rapist. He's actually not even that kid's parents, by the way. And even if he was, yeah, that guy's a convicted murderer in his country. Probably shouldn't be with his kids. Oh, how could you separate them, you bigot? How could you do that? I don't know, maybe because the guy's a murderer and he probably shouldn't be around anybody? They can't wrap their head around it because they're idiots. Well, you got Donald Trump's borders are to sanctuary communities. Let us in jails or face exact results you don't want. This guy's not messing around, and I love the language. You have to be clear here. And it's something the Biden administration lacked, was clarity, transparency. This is a administration that's coming in, the Trump administration, that you F around, you're going to find out, and they're serious about it. And if they're going to talk like this, then starting January 20th, they need to start throwing people in jail that don't want to sit there and follow the law. I'm okay with Trump doing anything he wants as long as it's constitutional and it's following the law. I want to be clear on that. As long as he's following the Constitution and the law, have at it, brother. Here's Tom Homan.
Well, look, first of all, I want to make something clear to exactly what we're going to do. For all these sanctuary cities pushing back, San Diego's writing legislation. You got Colorado and other states and other cities saying they're going to prevent us doing what I'm doing. I want to send them a clear message. If you let us in the jail, we can arrest a bad guy in the jail. In the safety and security of a jail. One officer could do that. But when you release a public safety threat back in the community, You put the community at risk. You put my officers at risk. You put the alien at risk. Because here's what's going to happen. You're going to release that guy in the community. I'm going to send an entire team to go look for the guy in your community. And what's going to happen? We'll find that guy. And when we find that guy, there's probably going to be others that are not a priority. However, if they're in the country illegally, they'll be arrested too, because we're not going to tell an immigration officer like this Biden administration did that you're going to turn your back on a known immigration illegal. When you're an immigration officer, you have an oath to uphold. So you are forcing us into the community at large numbers where other non-priority aliens will be arrested. That's a result, the exact result you don't want. So let us into jail. It's safer for everybody, and it's the right thing to do to secure communities. What we're going to do, Murray, we're going to target, like I say, public safety threats and national security threats. We're going to send agents out on day one. We're already working on targeting. DOD, they've helped every administration. We would like DOD to help us in a lot of areas in transportation and infrastructure building, intelligence and targeting. But a sworn immigration officer with immigration authority will be making those arrests.
And you know, the Democrats are going, you know what they're saying right now? How are you going to sit there and target Americans? It's not targeting Americans. I wouldn't be for that. You want to know who it's targeting? People that aren't Americans. That's the whole purpose. But that's how Democrats want to twist and pretzel this way into trying to make sense in some shape or form in their damn mind, which I don't know. It somehow makes sense to theirs. It doesn't to any of us. These people shouldn't be here. They're here illegally. Some of them are criminals. Some of them are raping and murdering our children and our wives and our families. Sorry, you're gone. Figure it out in your country. Do the paperwork correctly there, and then come in legally. And I think Sweet Sunset said something true here, and it was also going through my mind when I was watching Trump. She said, I love it when Trump says, are you ready? Are you ready? Because he's treating her like she's an idiot. Are you getting it, kid? Are you getting it? So one of you said earlier that I'm starting to think Trump is a genius. Trump is low-key a genius, man. He is. The PR, the way this guy talks, you have to understand the way that he talks and does things is different in different settings. The guy knows how to work a crowd. He knows how to sit there and talk one-on-one. Glenn Beck was talking about how this guy was giving like the whole history of like Russia and Ukraine to him in a meeting just like over the weekend. He doesn't do that in front of people. And in some sense, he does kind of act stupid sometimes on camera. But you don't make $1 billion necessarily doing buildings and negotiations by being an idiot. I understand there's some celebrities out there that make billions of dollars and act like idiots and are idiots, but not when you're making buildings and early on like the 70s and 80s or whatever, you know, building skyscrapers. So, well, there's today's episode. I hope you enjoyed everything you saw today. There's a lot more news to cover. We can barely get through it in an hour. Hell, we need to start turning this show into a 2-hour long episode because we barely get through all the news. If you enjoy it, hit that like and subscribe button. Following is absolutely free. Subscribing is actually free as well. Hey, we're trying to grow here. So if you know somebody that's looking for a podcast or is looking for a news show in the morning, send them my channel and say, hey, we'd love for you to join. We got a live chat with a bunch of regulars, a bunch of patriots, and come hang out with us. Invite them. Tell them to spend time with the community. Again, we do this every single weekday morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, folks. We'll be back here tomorrow with another episode of The Walt Brad Show. Take care, Patriots.